In my hand is the oldest comic book that I own. It's Movie Comics number 6. It came out in September, October of 1939. It also has a strange connection to the Star Wars movies. Stick around to find out why. I've got to be really careful with this book. It is barely holding on to a 1.0. It's attached to the top staple, but just barely. Also, as you can see, there's bits of it that are almost falling off. So I'm going to try to handle it as carefully as I possibly can. But there's a few things that I want to point out. How big this book is. The dimensions are a little bit longer and a lot wider. So this is a lot more square than most books are. So this is Katie Keene from 1954. I'm going to put it on top of Movie Comics number 6. And the spines are aligned. And you can see how much further movie 6 sticks out. Let me put a modern book on top of this so you can see the comparison of all three. Okay, this is Spider-Man 2099, issue number 6. And again, I've got it lined up and you can see the difference. So the more modern book is a lot more rectangular. So Katie Keene is hanging out there, and then Movie Comics number 6 extends out a bit further. Let's think about that date, September, October of 1939. The golden age is relatively new. Action Comics number 1 came out a year earlier in 1938. In mid 1939, that's when Tech 27 hit the newsstand. And it was a month after this book came out that we saw Marvel Comics number 1, which introduced us to the Marvel Universe. 1939 is also known as the best year for movies ever. On with a Win, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and Wizard of Oz all hit the big screen. And this book shows this convergence of these two emerging media, comic books and the movies. Nobody's going to confuse The Phantom Creeps with Wizard of Oz, but it had its own impact. 12-chapter sequel starred Bela Lugosi, who is better known as Dracula. Big innovation was what happened before each chapter. It was that scrolling text that got smaller and smaller and smaller, and this was the text that was later used in the Star Wars movies. And each of the parts of the comic books reflect a particular movie that was out at the time. There are several stories in here, and if you zoom in, you can see that there are basically pictures or photographs of the faces that are superimposed on illustrations. For example, in the back, there's a Laurel and Hardy reference called In a Chump at Oxford. As you can see, here is the part about the Phantom Creeps, and I just love how this robot is portrayed. Here's featured a story of Gene Autry in Old Monterey. What's funny about this is we often consider the cowboys in movies and in television being something of the 1950s, but here is a cowboy in 1939. So cowboys were certainly popular long before the 1950s. Something else of note, the back cover. Look what's advertised, Daisy Air Rifles. So Daisy has been around for a long time. And by the way, only $2.50. All right, so you've seen my oldest book. How about you? What is the oldest comic book that you own? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like the content, please give this video a like. Thanks so much and hope to see you around real soon.